feel good to people.
At least someone's listening to us.
Yes.
Yeah. We got people cheering us on.
Cheering us on. And it is February 4th, right?
We had a rough January, winter-wise, with weather.
Weather-wise.
Yeah.
And it really,
Sure
I think
did
it really did a lot to the market. Kind of little steam came out, I think, of the market since.
It's never nice
the
to look
fall.
at houses when the grass is all covered in snow and
And
all
it's
that good stuff.
They don't photograph as
degrees.
well. It's freezing cold.
Yeah.
And guess what can happen if you don't winterize your vacant listing? Your pipes can freeze. Ask me how I know.
Flooding.
How do you know, Jenna?
No, seriously though. I had a listing and the pipes froze because the listing was vacant. It was not winterized properly. And there was about 2 inches of water in the basement. I went there with the water authority to check the meter and there was a waterfall. There was a waterfall in the basement. You don't want that to be you.
Indoor swimming pool.
Yeah. There was a pool table and it was full of water, so they really did have an indoor swimming pool.
Listen description. It adds an ambiance to the natural setting of the basement.
Thankfully, with this particular listing, the buyers were already buying it to renovate it. Like, very thankfully. Because
they
otherwise.
cash?
Yes.
Okay.
Cash buyers, it settles Friday.
Right.
Still
So they're not
settles on
worried.
Friday.
Still settles on Friday, so they're not worried about it. But that could have been, if that was a different house, that could have been it was a disaster, but it could have been an even bigger disaster. So very, very important if you're selling a house and you're not going to be living there to winterize. You need to make sure that your heat is staying on. If you're in a mobile home, you need to let the faucet drip a little bit.
Ask us for your checklist on things you should do before you sell your house, whether
Yep.
or not you were there. If we don't have a checklist, we're going to lie to you and tell you we do, and we're going to come up with one really quickly. Because of our past
ChatGPT
experiences.
is great for that.
Don't
Make
give
sure
away
you're
our secrets.
shoveling too.
Yes.
I always make sure that if it's a vacant listing, that the driveways are getting done. You don't want to announce to the world that it's a vacant house.
That's so true. I
Very
actually
true,
had a
very true.
closing like 2 weeks ago and we pulled up. It was vacant. I had the buyers on this one. We couldn't even get in the driveway.
Yeah.
There was 8 inches of snow on
Yep.
the driveway.
Immediate disapproval of the house, right? You want first
First impression.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the word I was looking
Yes.
for. Thank you, Bernard.
First impression,
yeah.
curb appeal,
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
First, carrying boxes in the snow and not fun.
All the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a open house. It was like last month. Brunel's like one of 2 people there that were showing it. Nobody else showed up because it was just super freezing.
It was so cold.
It was
So
super
cold.
Were
freezing.
there football games that day?
Yes.
That makes it that.
I always look at the schedule.
Yes, I mistakenly did not look at the schedule.
Yeah.
Probably a month and a half ago, and we had no one show up because the Eagles were playing at
Super
1.
Bowl Sunday. Who has an open house?
Not me.
Hopefully no one. Okay, good.
I fall into that trap so often where I'll
Yeah.
forget about some Hallmark holiday or some government holiday, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to have an open house that day. And like, oh, actually, when I play a gig is the thing too. I never look at the calendar for like the holidays because I'm booking like 3 months out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we'll be fine here. And they're like, oh, it's blah 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 day. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not because I stink at playing music. It's because I'm just bad at scheduling. I guess since we're on that talk about scheduling, let's talk about inspections. I'll start with an experience I just had. So what do you guys think about like first-time homebuyers, young people or old people, but mostly young people, whose parents decide they need to be a critical asset of this experience? And at what point are they overstepping? At what point are they... Like, I feel that they're great. I mean, I wish my parents were there when I was talking about buying my house.
Sure.
Although I do this for a living.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's always good
Yeah.
to have that backboard to bounce something off of.
It is nice to have a second opinion or someone else see the house.
Yeah, but I think you just need to set expectations. You're not
Yes.
buying a brand new home.
Yes.
This house is 40, 50 years old.
From when your
There
parents
are
first
going
bought
to
theirs.
be little things that are wrong. We are checking to make sure that there are no safety, structural, or health concerns that could cause this.
And unexpected. Like, if it's on the disclosure that the roof
If
is
there's water
20
going through
years
the
old,
ceiling.
you expect a 20-year-old roof. if the house was built in the 70s, don't expect GFCI outlets because it wasn't required when it was built.
Right.
And we're not asking the seller to bring the entire house up to today's code.
Right.
You're not buying a new house.
Yep. It's not a code inspection.
Some reasonable thoughts,
You're
I think, are
buying the
important.
present. You're not buying the future. Make the
Yes.
house what you want afterwards. But currently, they're not going to make all the changes for you. They're not going to they're not going to, we're looking for more of a mid-century look, but we want you to do it for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things that just the upfront conversation with buyers before you even get into
And
it.
I
It's pretty
think it
important.
falls a lot onto the buyer's agent because
Yes,
we've all
exactly.
been there. We've all gotten laundry lists of things on an inspection report. And a lot of that is because the buyer's agent didn't, clue in their buyers or their buyer's parents that the house was built in 1965. It's not going to be to today's standards.
Right.
So,
I always tell my buyers we're looking for the big things.
Yeah.
We're not going in here to be nitpicky. We're not, going to say, oh, you have to remove this nail, you have to fix this outlet cover, you have to do all those little teeny tiny things. We're looking at HVAC,
Right.
we're looking at roof, we're looking
Yes.
at safety, health things.
The critical components
the
of a home.
big deal.
Yeah.
Are you going to walk away from the sale because there's a little hole in the drywall or something? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Just the ability to get an inspection right now on
It's
a
huge.
house is
It's
huge.
huge.
Yeah.
So you do have to, the buyer has to weigh that. Like if there's a laundry list of nitpicky little things that they want, is it really worth walking away if the seller says no to this? Because the devil you know might be better than the devil you don't know on the next
Yeah.
house.
that's a good way to put
yeah.
it. Love it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think too, as a mom, I could see myself going through, and of course, if my kid is buying a house, I am going to look at every detail. We do that anyway as buyer's agents, but if it's your child, I think you're going to go through and you're going to look at every detail. But it's very important as the agent to make sure that the parents are also aware that, hey, we're looking for the big stuff.
Right.
Yes, there's a lot of little nitpicky things.
But they
that
don't
can-
always know that. That's the
Right,
Yes.
so that's
when they
you
bought
have
their
to-
house in 1973 and they've been there ever since.
Yes.
And they still have the wooden paneling.
It was-
Yes.
Like this is coming back into fashion soon.
But also, it was
Maybe will.
it was brand new when they bought it for $13,000. So
Yes.
that's a whole different
Now
ballgame.
they can sell it for 1.3 million.
Yeah.
I'm not just calling out overbearing parents who want to be involved in that. The home inspector, that was another thing I took
That's
away from
another
this
piece of it.
experience was
Yeah.
a home inspector should not be giving you quotes on how much it's going to cost to do something
Ooh,
because
that's
they
so true.
are not a licensed engineer.
Electrician.
They're not an electrician, a plumber. Don't ask them that question because they might just, I don't know, but here's some confetti I magically pulled out of my
Yeah.
work bag.
Yeah, but you also the inspector that I use clearly he states that only interested parties that are named in the contract are allowed to be present.
Oh.
And
Smart.
maybe everybody has that in their language. Every inspector, I don't know, but his definitely does. But you also get a 50-page report
Yeah.
when you're done.
Yeah.
So
83
what
was the
you
last
can
one I
do
got
is
back.
Yeah.
you can you can screenshot these items of concern
Yes.
and send them out to a couple roofing companies. Hey, can you give us a ballpark quote, or does it require coming back out to the house?
Yep.
So you get a really detailed report, which is helpful, and you can send it to the parents.
When you're replying to your inspection report, when you're looking over your whole little list, I think less is more. Pick out your crucial points.
Yes.
Don't send the whole inspection report over because there's going to be multiple things that happen when that little pinball goes off there. You're going to ding off the buyer's agent, like, what? Or the listing agent, what is this? And then they're going to call their seller and say, holy crap.
The house is
Too
falling
much,
apart.
It's too much information.
You don't send the whole report?
I always send
I
the whole
do.
I
report.
would send the whole report. Number one, if your buyer's being super reasonable,
Definitely
and they're
helpful.
only asking
Yes.
for one
Yes.
thing, send them that whole thing
Yeah.
and show
Yeah.
them how much they're willing to
The house is
ignore.
falling apart, but
Yes.
we'll take it if you fix
Yeah.
these two items.
Right.
Yes.
And then I just
That's
say,
huge.
page 4, section 3,
Yes.
whatever.
The reply to
Yeah.
inspection, I think, should have the critical components on it. And anything else is what I call the honey-do list.
Yes.
As we're doing the walkthrough.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you might see this as an issue, but let's just put it on our honey-do list and
Yep.
just kind of give a little nudge.
Exactly.
Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. I just showed a house to a family member last night, and it was like,
You're a family member?
mind twist, because now I'm super concerned. Where,
Or normally you just don't care, right?
yeah.
What are they
Now
gonna
Don't use him. Just kidding.
Don't put that in there. Cut that out.
some of this responsibility is going to fall on me because I'm related to him.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, hey, could you come fix this? And I'm going to say no. So,
Brunel's going to get shunned again.
right.
Oh, stop. Don't put that in there
Oh, man.
either.
It's
Jeez.
okay. It'll be good. I'm a big kid. I can handle it.
Oh, man.
But I always try to point out everything. And even when the market is like multiple offers competing and they're going to be waiving an inspection, I still say, hey, an inspector is going to note this just so we
I
know
need to say it.
Yeah.
if it jumps out at me. And there's
Yeah.
always unknowns. And also an inspector is looking for an issue. So he's going to find an issue.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind too.
Even a brand new construction home, the
Yes.
inspectors are going to find issues.
No home is perfect.
Yeah, prepping your sellers is always a good idea too.
Yep.
Exactly,
Like, hey,
yes.
we're going to get this report back. They're going to ask for some repairs, and you might be shocked, but that's their job. is
We've
to
all
pick
had
the
those
house
sellers
for it.
too, where they're like, "Oh yeah, you can do an inspection. My home's fine."
I'm
Yeah.
not worried about anything.
We aren't
Shocking.
just a podcast. We're professionals, and we actually know how to handle these things with negotiations. I mean,
We
honestly,
do.
Right?
Negotiation
The
professionals,
best-
yeah.
I never mind when I see electrical issues. I'm like, okay, that's really black and white. Like, you can get an electrician in there. Plumbing, no big deal. It's when you start seeing like stucco problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or mold, or just those ambiguous, like you can get one person that says 7,000, another person's going to tell you 20,000 to
Yeah.
fix it. Oh, those are the worst. Those are tough.
I like when an inspector's like, "Oh, that's mold," when they haven't even tested it.
Right.
Yeah,
Like-
inspectors can't say that, by the way.
Someone
Neither
else
can
is
we.
gonna someone else is gonna come out and say, "Oh, it's fine. Just use a little Clorox, wipe that off. It'll be good."
Yeah.
What? Now, who buyer's gonna walk because they're thinking it's a $20,000 mold mediation,
Right.
And the seller thinks it's $13 from Walmart, and they're gonna be fine. So
We're going to spray some wet and forget on
Yeah,
there.
That's one of
Yeah.
the biggest worries you have to worry about with stucco, right? I dealt with that. I
Had
had
plenty of
when my
that.
next door neighbor's house was for sale.
The
which
synthetic.
I had all of the documentation on it, right?
Oh, good.
good.
So because the lady who owned my house also owned the one next to it, and this lady was trying to buy it, and I'm like, well, here's all the documentation for mine. I can't come up with all of it, but here's everything I've had for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
You
all
mean
the-
of maintenance on
Of
it?
maintenance,
Yeah.
because we had drive it and then was switched to stucco.
Drive it is the problem.
Drive
Drive
it's
is
the
the problem.
problem.
Yeah, not
because
stucco.
the moisture
Well, any-
gets in behind
And it
it.
was all painted
synthetic-
and sealed just 2 years ago. And she's like, I want a stucco inspection. I'm like, oh no, you're not drilling into this house to expose it to
That's
more
the
issues.
that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
sellers have to agree to that because when
Because
you're
that's
doing
invasive.
that, it's a very invasive inspection. But as a buyer, if I don't think like if I'm noticing any discoloration, any hairline cracks or anything
Cracks.
in that drive it,
Anything-
we have to do an inspection.
Anything thicker than a nickel is you should have filled or caulked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it gets it
rule
really
of
is
thumb.
a big culprit in the seams by
Around the
windows.
windows,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
When you get you get cracks,
flashing.
you get moisture in there, and
Yeah.
it goes in behind the stucco,
Yeah.
and it starts
rots
to rot
the-
out the
it rots the
wall
boards
from the
behind it.
inside.
I
So
had that.
if you have plants in your windows, be careful how you water them,
Don't overdo it.
Yeah, I don't do that.
because I do that. I have stucco. But
I
not
have
too
plants in
bad.
my windows, but I don't have stucco. So.
I forget to water my plants, so it's dry.
They're dead.
Yeah. Are they
Plants.
supposed to be brown?
Oh no.
See, and I feel like a lot of this stuff comes with experience, right? Greg? Like
Absolutely.
when I got in the business, I didn't even know what drive it was. But
She thinks that's how she gets into her driveway.
You drive it.
Is it drive it?
for the average consumer, drive it is the synthetic version of stucco. And it had issues. It has issues potentially.
Lots
Yeah,
of class action lawsuits.
Yeah, lots of
around
lawsuits.
Drive It.
Similar to like polybutylene piping. There was a lot of issues with that as well. Which again, I
Which
didn't
is
know
still
what that
out
was.
there.
Yeah,
It's a
still out
gray,
there.
purplish piping, pretty much that existed from the mid 70s until
Until like the late 80s.
late 80s.
Class action
Class
lawsuit
action
there
lawsuit.
too.
So
Yes.
any house you see built in that period, if you go in the bathroom, just look under the sink. You'll probably see like a grayish purple pipe. And it might not necessarily be a bad thing. It's not a great thing because they can always break. So anywhere they're exposed
The
to
biggest thing is where the connections
The
are.
elbows.
exact
So any
elbows.
connection is it deteriorates and
Or
starts to leak
exposed
at
to
the
UV light.
connections. That's
also
true.
degrades it. Yeah.
Yeah. My sister-in-law, their whole ceiling in their kitchen caved in.
Yeah. Why are you
Because-
surrounded by so many house
They're,
waterfalls?
I know, right? Now this
Small
was before.
leaks turn into big
And
problems.
it was a tiny leak, exactly.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
didn't see it until they came downstairs and there was a huge bubble in their ceiling
Yeah.
and it exploded.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
It was-
getting an inspection too, things can be missed if it's behind
Yeah.
a wall or if it's hidden.
You can't always see it.
No.
A well pipe, it's happened to my mom too. Speaking of polybutylene, she had a well out front, and the piping ran into the basement behind wood paneling from 1983. And
Our favorite.
Exactly. And I think maybe she saw a water stain. I forget what it was, but then it turned into like a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
But there's no more wood paneling in the basement anymore, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hides
But even
stuff.
even drywall still
Yeah.
has issues when it's continuously
perfect.
getting water, even at slow levels, it will start to get mold and deteriorate. So, yeah.
Have you guys had any issues with Drive It or polybutylene? Leave a comment below. Or don't. We don't care.
We actually do. Leave a comment below. We want to know.
We want to know the comments.
I had a whole side of my house ripped off because
Did
of it.
you?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you bought it?
When I
or
bought
when-
it. You could tell.
Okay.
You could tell that it was one side of the house that wasn't getting any sun.
That's the culprit.
And the front side had been done, but the other side was not.
I had buyers, and the whole front side of the house had to be ripped off. Just drive it.
Yep.
T111 is another thing to worry about. The wood for the outside.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
That usually
The
rots and
painted-
needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But if you maintain your home and keep your synthetic stuccos painted or sealed and caulk the cracks, and your T111 keep it painted and keep the dirt away from it at the foundation line, you don't have issues.
Yeah.
So
You just need to
it's-
maintain it. It's
Every
when you
8
let
to
it
12
go.
years, I think they
Right.
recommend painting.
Yeah, it's something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I do see some investors outbidding home buyers, first-time home buyers, or
Yes.
low money down home buyers. And I think some of that plays into maybe a benefit to some Airbnb regulations, because an investor can go in there with cash or a commercial loan and pay more for the house because they're going to rent it to 40 people in the same month and collect 10 times the rent versus a first-time home buyer coming in there and putting 3 or 5% down
Right.
and moving into it.
a lot of towns are now, my town, Amstown, just got rid of the Airbnbs. I know Reamstown has. I know it's kind of like happening.
Lidditz is very
Lidditz
stringent
is 30 days plus. You can
Okay.
rent it out
unless
over
you
30 days.
unless you live on the property,
Unless
right?
you live on the property,
Lancaster
and then
City
you can
got
do
rid of
whatever.
them?
Yeah.
They didn't get Lancaster City didn't get rid of them. They just have some regulations around the amount
Okay.
of them, and I believe they have kind of hit their maximum. Is my
Okay.
understanding. I don't know if they're giving out, but they are allowing.
They're not
them.
giving out
Yes.
anymore, but
Yes.
if you're already there, you're
Yes.
good.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
how Amstown
Grandfathering
is
them.
grandfathered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah.
So
That's what I
fun
thought.
fact about Lancaster County on February 4th today when I checked, the average days on market for a home is 15 days. Year over year increase in value has been 3.1% over the last year. So invest in real estate. It's not the highest return. I mean, you expect 5% on an account, but 3.1 for living there. It's pretty awesome.
I feel like that's pretty good considering
We had 20% for a few
Le-
years.
Yeah.
It's good to see it
Same.
kind of come down to a more reasonable number.
Yes.
But also, our home sales last year were way down, correct?
The number
Number of
nationally, it was
sales.
number of
Yeah.
sales was lower than
It was
any other
lower.
year,
So the
ever.
fact that there
Lower
was
than 08.
still a 3.1% increase, I think,
That's good.
yeah, it's good.
We were like
I think it is
12% the other year.
And
Right, but that's
Average
not
home
sustainable.
sale
It
price
is-
is
335.
335.
Awesome.
Fun facts to know.
Yeah.
So if you're in the market for, I just had a pre-qualified person. I sold the house. I sold their house. She's like, yeah, I'm kind of looking for like the 120 range. Like,
Ooh,
I sunk in my chair a little bit.
yeah.
You're going to
That
have to
hurts my
go
heart for you at
to another
120.
location.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even get a mobile home for under 100,000 anymore.
Barely.
And,
I sold a couple,
and if
but-
you do,
Yeah, they're just they're
You and I
not.
both,
They're like
sister.
1970
Yeah.
mobile homes, probably.
Well, and they're in a park.
yeah.
just sold one of 134.
I
Lot-
just sold one that
How
was
about lot rent?
1956.
Lot rent in mobile
and that's the
home
one that had
parks
the leak.
Yeah, the increase of lot rent. I remember when like
is wild.
It's it's like $400.
That's what I was about to say, lot rent.
And
we can't
700.
talk about.
No,
you
we're
know,
not. We've made
There-
a pact to never talk
There
about
was
that
a transaction that occurred at some point in time between two people, but the lot rent there was $700.
Seven
Seven.
Yeah.
at the place that my people bought.
We don't. I don't know what you're talking about. We're not
No,
talking
but
about.
that wasn't $700.
Okay, well, I have a listing
Okay.
coming up,
Not that I was
and
aware of
the
it.
lot rent is $700.
Oh, she couldn't do math. That's probably it.
Pretty sure it wasn't $700. The least they signed wasn't 700. I don't
That's
think.
the
Maybe
thing
I'm
with
wrong.
mobile
It might
homes.
But
be.
they had to pay.
I tried to block it out.
Yeah. Buried that one deep.
So what it looks appealing when you see a mobile home,
Yes,
double
the
wide,
price.
1,500 square feet
Yeah.
for 175,000, and you're thinking, oh, this is awesome. Until you figure in, you're putting more money down, you're paying a higher interest rate, and a huge amount for lot rent.
Yeah.
Not to mention they
You
might
have
not
to-
pay your water and sewer. So.
Yes. So
Depending.
until you
Some
figure
things are
in all of
included,
that, it's cheaper to go buy a nice townhouse.
And people have to
Yes.
understand too, mobile homes are treated like a car. It is not a fixed asset to the
Yeah.
ground.
It's
So
a
it is treated like
depreciating
a
asset.
It
Yeah.
used to be a depreciating
Yeah,
asset.
but it's not
Unfortunately,
anymore.
We can't even say that.
No,
'cause they
we
are
can't.
going
There are.
up.
Yeah, they
now.
do go. They certainly do not appreciate like stick-built homes,
Right.
But they do appreciate.
Yeah.
The
which
last
is
couple years,
Lately.
though, it would be hard pressed not to argue that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at some point, the buck is going to stop there.
Yes.
Yes.
And then like, oh,
Then you're going to be ending up with a 1956 mobile home with broken pipes.
At least that was on its own land.
That's
Right.
good.
The
Right.
mobile is what had the broken pipe.
Well, this property was so unique. It was a 1956 mobile shell built on a basement foundation
Got it.
with an
Okay.
addition out the front on its own land. So it had
Got
a lot of things happening.
So you,
a lot of
had-
things going
you
on.
sold a Lego house, is what you're telling me.
Kind of. Sure. To an investor.
Lincoln
Speaking
Logs.
of, let's loop that back around to investors and first-time home buyers.
Oh, yeah.
I am seeing some of my sellers, when we get multiple offers come in, they're like, wait, is that an investor or is this a family? I actually just had that with one I got under contract this weekend, a listing that I got under contract. And he was like, I feel like if this was an investor, I wouldn't take this price. But because I know that it's a family, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
Good.
consumers definitely have caught on to the fact that investors are buying up a lot of properties.
Yeah.
I had my listing over on Grove Avenue. They actually accepted an offer for less money because of a love letter.
Yeah?
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should touch that one.
I'm offended. Just because I'm an investor doesn't mean I need to pay more.
Yeah, I
But no, I'm
complain
an
about that all the
investor
time.
too, but-
Or the
Yeah.
neighbors always want to know, oh, is it an investor that bought the house? It's like,
That's
you know
true.
what? It's harder to get rid of a bad homeowner than a tenant.
Yeah.
That's what I tell
That's
people.
also true.
Because
That's true.
if you have a bad neighbor, they're there for a long
Yeah.
time. But if they're bad tenants and they're leaving trash all over the place, well, maybe they'll be evicted.
But I
Yeah.
think that's kind of
Show
like,
me your kitties.
yeah. I think that's kind
Let's
of,
not go there.
Oh, my.
and if it's an investor and there's tenants are in and out. So
Yes.
that can be a good or a bad
Right.
thing.
But yeah, actually, I mean,
That's why I bought the house next door.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're seeing more that I feel like I have in the last couple months is more of a transition from less cash deals, depending on the property. But
Yes.
so.
Less
but
cash
we're
for
seeing
sure.
more people coming in with conventional and PHFA,
Yeah.
USD. I saw.
I just had a
three-
VA.
I had 3 VA offers.
See, I love
on
that.
one house.
Finally, let's, let the veterans get back into home buying. They
Yeah.
should be able to.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah, very rough.
I feel for so long we got so tainted with painting the picture of we want the cleanest, best offer possible. But sometimes, it isn't that bad to accept other financing besides cash and
not.
conventional.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
USDA, okay, peeling paints, handrails, just
But in
don't- but you should know what you're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
FHA same. I like, mind you, I did one on Lincoln earlier this year. It was great money. It was like much better than the other one. But I knew there was peeling paint on that front
Yes.
porch. And I knew there was peeling paint on that back porch.
Yes.
So I hired my friends' kids and I paid
Yep.
them pizza and good luck. No, I paid them well, but they never paid
Well, yeah,
me
because
before.
you knew that was going to come
Yeah.
up. You knew that was
Yes.
going to come up. And that's what I always prep sellers for that
Setting
as well.
expectations is everything.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
good.
I feel like that's kind of the theme of our podcast today is expectations.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have to set the correct expectations
Don't
that
be
way.
afraid
With
of the
buyers
market. Don't be
and
afraid of the
sellers.
rates.
Yeah.
There's enough products out there to help you in no matter your situation, unless you're broke and your credit sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Well, actually, there's people that can help you even then.
Then you can do like a little, yeah.
We got it all.
yeah.
Come here for your money for the
No doc, low doc loans. They're coming back.
Bank statement mortgage.
Yep.
Love them. I'm hoping to get one soon.
So I had something interesting happen in like 10, 11 years of doing this.
Tell us your stories, Allison.
I have never had this one, and it's not that weird, but we're not a survey state. So when we
Oh, yeah.
when we sell a piece of property, they don't require a survey. my clients have a piece of property and it had this little tiny parcel next door. They did some cash back alley deal and it was recorded properly, but they never had the legal description done and the meets and bounds and a survey done. So they're going through to get the title work done, which is why you get title insurance, to make sure that you know what you are
Always.
buying.
Enhanced.
Because included in the sale was this parcel that the title company could not find any record of. So we have to get a survey done. The seller has to pay for a survey, which is $1,500.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
$1,800.
Yes,
but
exactly.
there's no
Yeah.
other way.
About
They
$2,000.
have to do it.
Yeah.
So, but normally that would not be something a seller would have to do.
Also, I think it's important to note too. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I've seen these commercials about how, someone can go to the courthouse and steal your property by taking the deed, signing your name, and you find out that you no
What
longer own
commercials
it.
are you watching?
You ever see any of that?
He's on the
No.
dark web. Dark web ads.
Sherry has talked about it before,
Yeah.
so I know I'm not the
What?
only one.
It's
Fear-based.
It's probably all right. I'm
and
gonna get in trouble if I say it's probably on from 10 to 11 o'clock, along with the reverse mortgage commercials.
don't call me out like this.
What's the main content that the viewer would be watching? Like, what's the show?
Don't
price
ask
is-
him.
The Price is Right.
That's on between 10 and 11 in the morning, though.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant at night.
I did too.
No.
Oh, I don't know why we would have thought that.
But I think it's important to know that if you have enhanced title policy and someone forges your name, it's covered in that. So you don't need to. What this commercial is trying to do is get you to pay a monthly subscription to ensure that your deed isn't sold out from under you.
Oh my
You
gosh.
do not need it. If you have enhanced title insurance.
So
if you bought a
enhanced-
house without title insurance, you might need it.
Enhanced
You might need
covers forward too.
Yes.
If something happens in the future,
That happened recently. Yeah. It wasn't my people, but something happened, and
or
I
is
heard
it just
about
covering if it happened in the past?
It covers also when the
present, future.
driveway
Wow. Oh,
when the driveway was put in on the neighbor's property.
but
Happened to
that
me.
happened.
That's what it was.
Before that happened
First-hand
after the
experience.
sale.
No, the driveway was put in. It was a new construction home. The driveway
Yeah.
was put in.
The driveway or the drive it?
It was new
Driveway.
construction?
Yes.
I know. I was clarifying for Jimmy.
And yeah, the one you drive it, the driveway. The driveway cut across the corner of the other lot in the subdivision, and it was only like a 4-lot subdivision. But because of the terrain, they cut across the corner of the other lot. So the other lot sells, and the new buyer says, "Oh, hey, this is my lot. You can't drive on it, even though the driveway's there." Title insurance paid because they had enhanced title insurance. It paid to remove that driveway and install it further down and across the lot on the correct parcel.
What are the odds of that?
They made
So-
him remove it and
Yeah.
You have to have it restored to how it should be.
Yes. Yes.
See-
and that was all covered by enhanced title insurance.
That's
so it is
huge.
What is-
important.
Right.
How much is enhanced? It's a percentage.
It's a couple $100 more.
I think it's
No,
10%
just-
more
Oh.
on a
Yeah,
on
but
a
your-
title policy.
Yeah,
Their
because by
policy is
policy
10% more.
is-
So it's like another $400 more
Yeah.
or something. And it's a one-time payment
Right.
and it covers you going
They
forward.
usually automatically include it on your closing cost sheet just because if you
In-house
don't get
does.
it, yeah, don't like this $2,000. I want to pay it, but
You have to opt for less coverage.
CYA always.
Yes.
CY. It's an acronym. I can't tell you what it is.
so
I'm sure most people know.
I have kind of a flip side to that. I helped a client buy a property at auction,
Ooh.
and this was a year or two ago.
There's the first problem.
Well, the driveway.
If you want to alleviate yourself of all risk, please buy an auction because there's no risk involved in that.
That's not
Buyer
true.
assumes full risk.
Yeah,
in
buyer
auction
assumes all the
properties.
risk at auction.
Yes.
But anyway,
Well,
so
but in the terms of the auction, though, they ensure clean title. In the terms
they
that
do.
in the ones that
there
I've
was-
seen.
there
Marketable
was a-
title, but not, it doesn't need to be like clear and clean. And
There was a bit of an
Okay.
issue with this one because now this was an older home. It was nowhere near new construction. It went back to 70s, 60s, 50s. Like we had to go through deeds and all kinds of records. And the driveway used to be an alleyway, and it was never actually a part of the property that my client bought. So when the neighbor bought their house, their realtor said, "Hey, just so you know, if this house ever sells, their driveway is on your property. You could get paid for that, basically. So
Easements.
but it wasn't even an easement. It was like, it used to be it was a whole thing. My buyer ended up having to pay that seller a lump sum of money
To
for
continue
that.
using the driveway.
What is that
Driveway.
term I'm looking for? Where if
Yes.
you use something for 21 years,
Yes.
you can claim ownership of it. It's not eminent domain.
Common law marriage.
I just had that too. I forget
Claiming
what it's
usage
called.
for 20 years. Oh my
This is
god.
my sweetheart. We've been dating since 18. She's been mine for 23 and a half years. We went to court.
No, that is a thing. But it was a huge
got her.
dispute. The seller was not even willing to budge on it. It was a whole thing. But yeah, if you are, and I have another property that sold a few months ago, similar like kind of thing happened, and that came into play. That's been used as a driveway for that property
Nobody-
for
we don't have
55 years.
No,
So
What?
can't remember.
What's that called? Where you have
it's
like
called something. I just had it.
Latin ish.
This is what we learned in our licensing classes, as
I-
well as how
That's
many
really good.
square feet are in a mile.
Per diem?
It's like right
Oh, wait, no.
here in my brain. It's right here. I just need to. I
Doesn't
can't.
matter.
Yeah,
Someone asked Siri. I don't care.
I thought she was gonna
we're fine.
pop up. But anyway, yeah, the continuous use of 21 years that benefited these other buyers. But as far as that driveway with that auction property, did not.
No luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know, the more you spill.
We're okay.
All right.
All right, team. Well, I
we
think it's
done?
going to wrap it up for today.
Okay.
We'll catch you next time.
What the heck is that called? Now it's gonna drive me crazy.